Microphones.
Very aggressive.
Yes, yes. The first item tonight is the adoption of the agenda, which we all have an updated agenda at our desk. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is approval of the September 12th, 2019 minutes, which were mailed to us earlier. Do I have a motion to approve? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion carries. The next item is the recognition of council members, and we have lots of new council members, so I'm remiss that I don't necessarily know everybody. Would you like to be recognized now, or would you like to? Okay, please come forward.
This is my first planning meeting as a councilperson. I may need this work.
All right, we got Lisa coming to help you.
Clearly, we don't know how it works either. We got a new system, huh?
We have a handheld again.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Quante Toombs, Councilwoman for District 2.
Welcome. Okay, anybody else? Okay. Well, welcome, and we look forward to having you work with us in the coming few years. Another face from the past has just walked in. Okay, the next item is the items for deferral or withdrawal. Lisa.
The following items are for deferral or withdrawal. Item 1A, 2019 CP 003003 on page 4 of your agenda, the Bordeaux Whites Creek Haynes Trinity Community Plan Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. The associated case, item 1B, 2019 SP 066001 on page 4 of your agenda, the Clarksville Pike Mixed Use Site SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 2, 2019 CP 005002, East Nashville Community Plan Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 24th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 4 on page 5 of your agenda, 2019 SP 027001, the Roots East SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 5, 2019 SP 048001, Cedars of Cane Ridge SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 6, 2019 SP 056001 on page 6 of your agenda, Robertson Avenue Residential. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 7, 2019 S 109001, Richards Farms Subdivision. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 8, 2019 S 160001, 1242 Property Solutions Property. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 9, 2019 Z 094PR 001, a request for rezoning on Vernon Avenue. Staff recommendation is to withdraw. Item number 11, 2019 Z 136PR 001 on page 7 of your agenda, a request to rezone from RM20 to RM40 for property on Phillips Street. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 12, 2019 SP 061001, 832 West Trinity on page 7. Staff recommendation is to defer to the October 10th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Lisa. So the items for deferral or withdrawal, items 1A, 1B, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12. Commissioners?
Move approval.
That's okay. Any other, do we have a second? Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries. The next item is item F, the consent agenda.
As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. As noticed to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. Item number 10 on page 6 of your agenda, 2019 Z099PR001, a request to rezone from R8 to RM15A zoning for properties located at 2127 and 2129 Cliff Drive. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 13, 2019 S179001 on page 7 of your agenda, 1508 East Stewart's Lane subdivision, a request for final plat approval to create 3 lots on property located on East Stewart's Lane. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item 14, 88P040004, Comfort Inn and Suites PUD revision and final. It's a request to revise a portion of a planned unit development and for final site plan for a property located on Old Hickory Boulevard to permit a hotel. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. And item number 15, 2019 DTC 021001, the 1221 Broadway Office Tower. It's a request for modification to overall height and the step-back standard of the downtown code to allow a 28-story office building with ground floor retail. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Under other business on page 8 of your agenda, to accept the director's report and approve administrative items.
Okay, thank you. So, Commissioners, the items on the consent agenda are items 10, items 13, items 14, items 15, item 15, and item 19. Do I have a motion to approve?
I need to recuse myself on item 15.
Okay. Anything else before we have a motion?
Move approval.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay. So that means that we are hearing one item this evening, which is two items, items 3A and 3B. And Lucy's going to say a few words before we start the staff's presentation.
You're good, Anna, just hang there. So I had a couple of questions from both commissioners and some folks in the community about the relationship of the policy, which is item 3A, and the proposed zone change, which is item 3B, and how those work together. So I just wanted to lay out a couple of comments to make sure that we're all sort of on the same page. So item 3A is the plan amendment. So that is a proposed change to our policy framework. It's the community-driven vision of big picture, our goals for this portion of the community, and it speaks to such issues as mixtures of land uses, broad goals about density, and things like that. That's item 3A. 3B is a zone change proposal, which is a specific request to approve a change from commercial service and single-family residential to a specific zone district. And so from the Planning Commission's perspective, we will look at, typically we hear the items together in terms of the staff presentation and public hearing, but the commission has the option to debate and discuss the items separately. our recommendation as staff is if you approve the policy change, then we would recommend that you approve the zone change. But if you don't approve the policy change, then we would recommend that you not approve the zone change. In some scenarios, you have the option to approve the policy and ask for more work on the zone change. So in some ways, they are separate decisions. The policy framework is the broader framework, and it can support a variety of zoning decisions within that policy framework. Does that, for the commissioners who had asked questions, does that help answer or clarify? Yes? Okay. Staff, was there anything I could say differently? Okay.
So just to clarify, we're hearing the two together. We're going to hear the two together. We're going to have the public hearing about the two together, but we will discuss and debate them as individual items.
The commission, I think, after you hear the public hearing, the commission may decide that it wants to take up the policy change, for example, separately, vote on that, and then you may choose to discuss the zoning change separately and vote on that and have two independent discussions. That's to your discretion.
So commissioners, keep that in mind as we hear the public.
I think it kind of depends
staff
on
report.
what you hear from the community, and that will help shape the kind of discussion that would be appropriate.
Okay. 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 Item 3A is a request to amend the North Nashville Community Plan. There is an associated zoning case that will be presented next. The request is to change the policy for the .68 acres shown here outlined in red at the intersection of 9th Avenue North and Buchanan Street, directly west of the Delta Avenue and I-65 overpass in North Nashville. There are currently 2 homes on these lots, and the small lots just to the north in red are Metro-owned properties. Across Buchanan is Jones Padilla Elementary School, and then along Buchanan are small-scale commercial uses such as Slim and Huskies. The request is to change the urban neighborhood maintenance policy, shown in the light color, to urban mixed-use corridor policy, which is the hatched policy you see along Buchanan Street, in order to support the rezoning request for a mix of uses. Staff recommends approval of the policy change request. The gray area on this slide outlines the associated rezoning to go from commercial service and single-family residential to mixed-use limited alternative. Looking closer at the existing policies in the area, the urban neighborhood maintenance policy in the light color is applied to the plan amendment area and to much of the residential area around Buchanan Street. This policy is intended to maintain the general character of the existing urban neighborhood. There are some pockets of urban neighborhood evolving, shown in the purple, around Elizabeth Park and across the interstate. Civic policy in the bright blue denotes the elementary schools in the area, and the green open space is for Elizabeth Park and open space at MDHA's Cheatham Place properties. The requested policy, urban mixed-use corridor, is currently in place along Buchanan Street and Rosa Parks, and the applicant is requesting to extend this policy along 9th Avenue. The requested mixed-use corridor policy is applied to major corridors with the intent of encouraging a balanced mix of higher density residential and mixed-use development along the street. These corridors are characteristically pedestrian-friendly, prominent corridors that are served by multiple modes of transportation. On August 21st, the required planning-led community meeting was held. Approximately 30 people attended. Some attendees expressed support for the policy change in order to expand the land area available for a mix of uses. Many attendees requested more detail on the proposed development and for additional time to have more discussion. Community concerns were generally related to traffic, parking, access, short-term rentals, and the types of uses proposed. A follow-up community meeting was held on August 27th. This was at the regularly scheduled Jones Buena Vista Neighborhood Association. Approximately 50 people attended, including a number of those who were present at the August 21st meeting. There was a great deal of community discussion at the second meeting, as shown by this slide. Overall, more people expressed support for the proposed amendment and rezoning than at the first meeting, and support centered on the desire to see improvement to properties along and adjacent to Buchanan, the potential for enhancements to walkability, and to provide jobs and additional housing options to the community. Concerns related to gentrification and displacement, the permitting of short-term rentals, traffic and parking, the potential height of the proposal, and generally a wide variety of contrasting and competing visions about the future of Buchanan Street. Following this meeting, the applicant deferred both cases to allow time for further community discussion. A community roundtable discussion with the applicant took place on Tuesday of this week. Planning staff were not in attendance. We followed up with people who attended, and the feedback was mixed, with some in support and others opposed. Staff believes this is a suitable location for urban mixed-use corridor policy for 3 primary factors: Buchanan being a high-capacity transit corridor, the guidance of the North Nashville Community Plan, and the appropriate application of urban mixed-use corridor policy. First, guidance from a countywide perspective with the Growth and Preservation Concept Map from Nashville Next and the system of high-capacity transit corridors. The stretch of Buchanan Street you can see outlined in blue runs from D.B. Todd to Rosa Parks, and it includes the plan amendment area, which is the star, is an immediate need high-capacity transit corridor. Allowing for strategic infill along these corridors provides the density of jobs and residents to support transit lines and transit improvements. Applying urban mixed-use corridor policy will allow for the mix of housing and commercial development to encourage this infill. Second, guidance from the community plan. One of the goals of the North Nashville Community Plan is to address the desire in order to address the desire to see an increase in retail and service options, is to enhance prominent corridors in the community, such as Buchanan Street, Jefferson Street, and Rosa Parks, by adding a mix of land uses and housing options. The proposed urban mixed-use corridor policy, with its focus on mixed-use development, offers the opportunity to promote the goal of the community plan. And finally, the appropriate application of policy, summarized under the 3 main headings on this slide, and starting with streets and connectivity. The plan amendment area is adjacent to Buchanan Street, a 2-lane collector street with local bus service planned to be upgraded to rapid bus service per InMotion. Protected bikeways along Buchanan are funded and should be installed this year, and there are existing sidewalks along Buchanan. Urban mixed-use corridor policy is applicable to prominent corridors with multimodal transportation options, as seen along Buchanan. In terms of policy boundaries, human-made features such as interstates often form the boundaries of policy areas. The construction of the interstate system in the late 1960s bifurcated 9th Avenue North and physically separated much of North Nashville. This request will extend the mixed-use corridor policy to the interstate and to a similar depth as seen in the surrounding area, matching the existing condition along Buchanan. The interstate then becomes a clearly distinguishable boundary of the mixed-use policy. Mixed-use corridor policy contains guidance for transitioning in intensity and use, with buildings at the edges to form transitions where they adjoin lower intensity policy areas. The alley pictured here between 9th and 10th Avenues North would be used for the transition. Alleys are currently used to the north and west of the plan amendment area as the transition point. Based on this analysis, staff recommends approval of the request.
Thank you.
Good evening. The next item on tonight's agenda is item 3B. This item is the associated rezoning request with the previous community plan amendment. The request is to rezone from commercial service and single-family residential to mixed-use limited alternative. Staff's recommendation is to approve if the associated plan amendment is approved. If the associated plan amendment is not approved, staff recommends approval of the MULA only for those parcels currently within the urban mixed-use corridor policy. Again, the properties fronting on Buchanan are zoned commercial service, with the properties fronting on 9th Avenue North being residential single-family. The properties are split between the urban neighborhood maintenance and urban mixed-use corridor, with the policy line matching the zoning line. Staff's analysis of the existing land use policy finds that the requested MULA zoning is inconsistent with the urban neighborhood maintenance policy. As the MULA district allows for commercial uses, the urban neighborhood maintenance policy is intended to be primarily residential. Staff's analysis finds that the requested MULA zoning is consistent with the urban mixed-use corridor policy. Seen on the screen here in the first bullet point, the intent of this policy is to encourage a mixture of higher density residential and mixed-use development, and staff finds that the mixed-use limited alternative district is consistent with this intent. Also, the alternative component of the rezoning request is consistent with the urban mixed-use corridor design principles for building setbacks, in that the alternative district enhances the pedestrian environment and engages the public realm with its shallow setbacks. The second bullet point on the screen here is pulled directly from the urban mixed-use corridor policy manual. The alternative district component of this request is critical for this site as it sits at the boundary of the urban mixed-use corridor and is the connection point to the neighborhoods to the east. The contribution this site can make to the walkability of this corridor is significant, as it will be the first site encountered by pedestrians traveling from the east. Staff's recommendation is to approve if the associated plan amendment is approved. If the associated plan amendment is not approved, staff recommends approval of the MULA district only for those parcels currently within the T4 CM policy.
Thank you. We will go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is the applicant here? So a reminder, you have 10 minutes. You can reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Jen. We will want to reserve the 2 minutes.
It's not on.
Thanks. I'm not sure how many people are going to be speaking in support that might eat into our, well, I'm glad we give them some of our front time, but we do want to make sure we reserve that last 2. But so we.
Can I just have you state your name?
I'm sorry, I'm J. Fulmer, 2002 Richard Jones Road. But so it's been a pleasure getting to know everybody working along this corridor. We've got people here in support and people here in opposition. And even at the end of all 3 of our meetings, everybody's been nothing but kind to me, whether they're in support or opposition. So it's been really great. They've all shown great passion about this. But so right now, really at the base of all this is changing the residential to a commercial use. The rest of the parcels are zone CS. They support the uses that the overall project will intend to use, but it makes more sense to change them to the MULA. We intend to use that extra land for commercial use as stormwater, parking, circulation around the project. To date, we're working on getting the rezoning before a bunch of plans are created. Part of it's been a timing issue, just speed to creating those concepts and knowing what our boundaries are. So I understand some hesitation and reservation from opposition that might not have seen a bunch of pretty pictures to date, but we haven't gotten that far. So we appreciate your consideration, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crabtree for further discussion.
And I did just want to clarify that your 10 minutes is your 10 minutes. If there's people speaking in support, they'll have an additional 2 minutes each.
I was mistaken. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is David Crabtree. I'm with Brookside Properties. So nice to be with you today. We appreciate your time and commitment to the community at large. We started actively working in this corridor about 4 years ago, and we were responsible for the building at the corner of 9th and Buchanan that has Nci Solo. We renovated that building that previously people had wanted to condemn, and we've been very committed to this neighborhood to create jobs and to create opportunities for people within that district and within the area, contractors, architects, people working at Slim and Husky's, Southern V, and other community-based businesses. Timing matters in these kinds of things. We're at historic low interest rates. We have the opportunity funds, which would be very instrumental to us in this project. We want to take advantage of those, and by the nature of the election cycle in this process, it's going to be very tight to get this approved. So we hope that you guys will favorably consider our request. We are not advocates of gentrifying this neighborhood. The converse is the case. We want to create opportunities for Black-owned entrepreneurs to better serve that community. We understand that anytime there's change, there's opposition many times to just the sheer momentum of change, and that people are uncomfortable and sometimes feel unsafe with change. But we have been historically in this neighborhood sensitive to those changes, and we've been very thoughtful about how we've integrated new development into the community. Our goal is to create a cohesive plan at the entrance of Buchanan Street at the top of the bridge. So when you come to the top, you'll see development on both sides of the street that welcome people to this great community in North Nashville. We want to provide retail services and better services to that community that are professionals. There's no medical in that corridor. You have to go all the way to Jefferson Street to find the nearest doctors, but there are many services that are lacking in that area, and we think that this project will be helpful in that regard. The biggest objection that we've heard so far about this in the 3 community meetings has been that we're rushing things. And I guess in a way we are. We just bought the property in July after working on it for 3 years to assemble this property. And we spent $700,000 in July with 30 days notice when the family finally decided to sell the property so that we could create a comprehensive plan for the entrance of this great area. So we ask you to consider the constraints that we're working with. The Opportunity Zone incentives change at the end of the year. So this really matters to us. It matters to the viability of this project. It matters to the quality of the development. And so we just ask you to consider those things as you consider our point of view today. Thank you.
Thank you. So you will reserve your 2 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anybody here speaking in support of this item? Yes. Okay, if you want to come forward and state your name and address, you'll have 2 minutes. And if there's others, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
You said 2?
2.
Okay, I'm trying to read this.
And there's the timer right there.
I took off my fashion glasses and put on my reading glasses.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do 2 minutes. Hello, my name is Tanya Sherrill, and I am a longtime resident in the North Nashville area. And I am here to express my support for the zoning change to MUL for property located in 9th and Buchanan. I support this zoning change because Mr. Crabtree has a proven track record of developing projects that are beneficial socially, economically, and cosmetically to the North Nashville community. It all began with the first project that he mentioned. It was an old grocery store that sat there dilapidated for over 20 years. And those 4 properties that we're talking about, they're in that same eyesore, which is now a renovated, welcoming gateway with retail space for the area. Fast forward, because of Mr. Crabtree and his team, we now have Slim and Huskies, the Dress Theory Bridal Shop, Mogul's Barbershop, Salem Town Skate Center, the Southern V Restaurant, Minerva Sport Bar, and coming soon, the Nashville Jazz Workshop, and also the medical center he spoke about. The progress we have seen is a result of his humanitarian, philanthropic, and business endeavors. The growth and development has been equitable, inclusive, and provided affordable commercial space for small and minority-owned businesses. The business practice is helping to revitalize the area in an unprecedented way. The small businesses that are migrating to the area, they cater to the existing and new residents. It's providing employment and has provided employment and entrepreneurial opportunities for minorities. Socially, he's no newbie to the neighborhood. He's a mentor, a teacher, a community advocate. He is the facilitator of home buying and wealth building classes that are held right there in North Nashville. Very seldom do we meet business investors, and I meet a lot of them, particularly who are white men that are conscious, caring, and involved with the people in this community as a whole. I wholeheartedly, can I finish my last paragraph? His initiatives have been overwhelmingly favorable and welcomed by the community as a whole. We really appreciate your consideration and the success of his current and forthcoming culturally sensitive developments and grant the MUL for this project. Thank you. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's one long last breath. Anybody else here speaking in support? Okay. Then we will have those speaking in opposition. Anybody speaking in opposition? Yep, come forward. You will also have 2 minutes. Please start with your name and address, and if the rest can just be sort of ready to stand up behind when.
Well, thank you so very much. My name is Cheryl McReynolds. I reside at 1706 10th Avenue North. Now, the back of my property is that the alley that was pictured. The back of my property is going to share that alley with what is being proposed here. I definitely don't have any objections. I've lived there for quite some time. It is my childhood home, actually. And so what I've seen for over the years, it sure would be great to see something nice for a change. North Nashville has been overdue for improvement for quite some time. So I just best wishes to all of those who are making these plans, that you still consider to make it to give it character, to give that community character. It is a neighborhood, and as it was stated, when you come over that overpass, beginning at that intersection is the heartbeat. That is the heartbeat of Buchanan, or the buck, as they say. So for myself, where I reside, the things I've seen in my past, I'm gonna tell you, I probably would be very happy. So I hope that all things will be considered here, that it holds that character. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Simone Boyd, and I live at 1910 Cephas Street. I'm here today to ask that you defer the decision for a zoning change and community plan amendment for 1 year. A similar community plan change went in a 3-year community engagement process in Germantown. We've had 4 weeks during a runoff election, council election. My neighbors in North Nashville deserve a chance to have the same meaningful input as those across the bridge. I raised 2 additional points for your consideration. First, the staff notes report that the residents expressed support for growth to be for the benefit of existing residents rather than leading to displacement. I share this sentiment. The zoning change, however, would allow for an untold number of investor-owned short-term rentals. An SP that codifies land use would be a better tool for addressing residents' concern of displacement. Improving Nashville's neighborhood engagement and land use decision-making report notes that planning staff has at times included options. This helps residents to understand that there is more than one possible outcome. Second, I want a neighborhood that is economically inclusive, but I don't understand how that can be preserved through land use decision-making. The applicant has planners, engineers, and consultants at their disposal. As a volunteer, I am outmatched, undereducated, and outspent. We need a series of dedicated meetings facilitated by planning staff, similar to those conducted on Dickerson Road, that will aid residents to be proactive rather than reactive in preserving neighborhood character and assessing what the needs of this corridor are. The applicant points to the need to access opportunity zone incentives by December 31st to make the deal viable. As residents, we should not be required to bear the burden of the applicant's financial interest. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking? Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Philip Boyd, and I live at 1910 Cephas Street. I request the committee defer this rezoning request until the applicant provides further details that address our concerns about the number of short-term rentals and the height of the proposed building. After attending the community meetings on this matter, I think the rezoning request as it stands and as it was presented is inappropriate and needlessly rewards the applicant, who just 2 days ago told residents that he did not know the difference between the two mixed-use zoning designations that are central to this discussion. Currently, the tallest building on the Buchanan corridor is 2 stories. The applicant's request would allow up to 4 stories. Decisions affecting my neighborhood's community character plan to this magnitude deserve more attention, transparency, and accountability. Those were hallmarks, those were issues, transparency and accountability, that were at the forefront of District 21's runoff election. I believe the overwhelming support for the new councilman, specifically within this sub-voting district, reflects the neighborhood's desire to change the way information is presented to residents and to ensure that there is accountability in the decision-making process. By deferring this rezoning request, I believe your committee preserves our neighborhood's desire to work on transparency and accountability issues with the newly elected councilman, who campaigned on a platform of smart growth and accessibility. And by deferring this rezoning request, your committee preserves our neighborhood's desire to make an informed choice with full details. I thank you for your time and appreciation of my concerns.
Thank you. Others speaking in opposition? Anybody else?
Good afternoon to everyone here. Well, maybe I can speak loud enough when it's for me with that. Is it all right? You can't hear me? All right, my name is Thomas Wilson. I live at 1814 Cephas Street, which is within 600 feet of 9th and Buchanan. I'm not here to speak for or against the agenda pertaining to that area. What would be helpful to me, and I apologize in advance if I should have asked someone on your staff or a member of your audience, is there available a glossary of terms? Because these letters, MUL and this and that, don't mean anything to a layman like myself. Is this glossary available online, or can it be acquired by mail? I would appreciate that. Then finally, so that the music won't cue out on me here, and I hope I don't offend the Antifa or the pro-Trump crowd, I'll try to walk down the middle and say this. Having gone to these meetings and hearing what I've heard so far today, as far as I know, we're still a republic. And I understand change is necessary, but I hope people who are investing in North Nashville will continue to consider the people who have lived there a long time, as well as those coming in. You probably heard this before, but I think in these raucous times that we're living in, I think it's necessary to repeat it again. Give the people of the community an opportunity to speak out on these matters. And if there's anything you can do on your end to get the information out to people, or community organizations need to do it themselves, that would be most helpful to everyone concerned. And I thank you for the opportunity for me to speak.
Thank you very much. And we can work on glossary terms, and we'll probably try to address that when we start our deliberations for you. Anybody else speaking in opposition? If not, the applicant, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal if you would like to come forward.
I admit it. I didn't know exactly what MULA meant, but my engineer, who wasn't present, does know, and he recommended it. So I took his advice, since several places on the street have been rezoned MULA. Secondly, a good portion of the property is already zoned for CS. And the height on CS and MULA, I understand, is the same, so we're not asking for a height change. What we're really asking for is its orientation in relation to the street, that we prefer to have the building closer to the street to have a better streetscape that would better serve the walkability in the neighborhood and provide more area behind the buildings for parking so that the neighborhood residents aren't infiltrated with as many people parking on their street. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, so we, is a council person? here?
He's not here.
Okay. Yeah. What? No, sorry.
We're still learning the new council members.
Yeah.
Forgive us. I believe the council member is not here, but I have spoken with him. Right.
Okay, so with that, we're going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, we still have a choice of whether we want to do what we normally do, which is to consider these two items together, the community plan change and then the associated rezoning, or we can hear them separately, or we can deliberate them separately. Does anybody have any thoughts or opinions on this? Your preference?
I would prefer that we actually deliberate these, that we decouple these for discussion purposes.
Okay, any other thoughts on that? Then we will proceed with that request. So we'll begin with item 3A, and Commissioner Tibbs, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I got used to my new mics here. I actually think that the change from the, I actually agree with this actual change because of, I mean, if you look at it, on this particular map, it shows that, it's almost like it was a left off piece. I do feel like based on the analysis of just how the interstate has, something that happened a long time ago, but this does present a gateway, and this change will be consistent with basically that whole arterial street there. So I'm supportive of this change. My only reservation, and I'll just be interested to how the commissioners do speak about this, is that because of the timing of the council change and because the council person for this district is not here, I just wonder if we want to make a policy change without their input, and that's my only reservation actually. If other, based strictly on the information that we've been provided, and I'm totally supportive of it, but that's my only reservation.
Thank you. Commissioner Moore?
So I had a similar thought about my reservations. I think, Ms. Kemp, you mentioned that you may have talked to the council person. Do you have any direction as far as that's concerned?
I would never dream of speaking for a council member.
No, not dream, but I guess.
No, I know. But just perhaps to clarify for the folks in the audience, and a reminder here that the policy decision is with the Planning Commission, and the zoning decision is a recommendation from us to council. I did have an opportunity to visit with him, and like many of his colleagues, he's been in office for a week or something, or not even officially sworn in at this point. So it's new. We did visit about this, and we talked about the process, and I think I will just say he welcomed the input and questions that the commission might pose as a way of helping to facilitate a conversation about this very important area. So, but the policy decision again stops here. And we could have made, and we can make that independently of the zoning recommendation to council.
So I understand that. I guess it just still feels maybe, I think even the applicant said that there is a bit of a rush on this, and I think timing, it just doesn't feel quite right to me to make a decision today, but I'm willing to hear what everyone else says. Also, I think that this is a really important area, and obviously there's some community concerns about what the building type will be and how it impact their property. That, I understand those concerns, so I wish we had a little more information, but I understand. I guess another question would be, can you speak to the opportunity zones? I know he mentioned that, like, there's a time limit, December 31st or something, that he has to work within. How do we consider that in this? Sorry.
No, it's okay. So the opportunity zones are, I think, relatively new. I've been to a few seminars within Nashville trying to learn more about how they benefit investors and what the goals are for the community. It is not a factor that the staff considered in our decision, whether we're looking at the land use policy, we're looking at typical issues of mobility, bulk standards, neighborhood character, and the like, and evaluating the policy on those terms and the zoning on those terms. That there's an opportunity zone factor. I can appreciate that the applicant may feel that urgency, but I regret that that would create a tension within the community or the commission over timing. It was not a technical factor that we weighed in, that we considered.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Commissioner Elon?
I have similar feelings as my two colleagues. I did have a couple questions in terms of just logistically, the difference between a minor and a major plan amendment would be helpful. Staff.
One main difference is the noticing radius. So a minor amendment is noticed within 600 feet, and a major is noticed within 1,200 feet of the property. So that's a kind of a logistical change. In terms of minor versus major in policies, one of the, and Lucy can speak to this too, but as a small area and a small change, this was deemed to be a minor amendment. Sometimes when we have major plan amendments, they tackle a much larger area. As a small area next to the interstate, the decision was made to deem this a minor amendment.
I feel like we've seen cases where a size of this would be considered a major amendment. Am I incorrect? I mean, just the geographic area?
This is 0.6 acres, 0.68 acres of land. So there may be, I'm trying to think of examples of where a smaller area has been deemed a major, but in this instance, I think given its location and small size, it was deemed appropriate as a minor amendment.
But we essentially treated it the same way as a major amendment by requiring a public meeting. So the terminology is different, but we still had the community meeting, which is the main difference between minor and major is there's not a required community meeting for a minor plan amendment, but we still required that here. So essentially it was the same.
Okay. I think that, I mean, just echoing what we've heard earlier, although the timing is not great, I think it's important that the council members kind of provide leadership along the way with these projects. And that's my main concern is just, has the community felt like they've been represented and their voices have been heard appropriately? That's my biggest hang up here. But
Commissioner Gobble?
I tend to agree with the staff's recommendation. I think I'm certainly sympathetic to letting it, waiting on the councilman to have some input. It is an interesting time of transition. I don't know that we have to wait very long for that. If we were to say, let's defer this or wait for his input, how long a wait would that be?
I think, again, I don't want to speak for him. I think it depends on the scope of questions and what we want to accomplish. And I know we're not talking about the zone change here, but if in the course of the zone change discussion, the commission deliberated and set aside a certain set of issues that were very clear related to bulk standards, that's a quick piece. If in your deliberations you think there are much broader issues that need to be solved here at perhaps a larger scale, then I think that would require a different timing conclusion altogether. I think it comes down to whether you're satisfied that the area of the zone change request can be considered with these three properties. Do you know what I mean? Are you satisfied that we had a boundary that sufficiently examines some of the questions that were raised here? that wasn't a very nice answer for you, I'm sorry.
If the zone change request were to go away, and I'm not suggesting it should, but if it were to go away, would we be doing the plan amendment?
The plan amendment should stand on its own. The policy should be a community-driven discussion about whether or not the policy here is still appropriate for next year or the next 5 years. And so really that is it's not that it's an independent decision, but it's meant to be a decision-making framework for us. And so it is somewhat independent. And if you're basing your decision about the policy on the zone change, then I would suggest we need to keep doing some work.
Okay.
If you're able mentally to sort of separate them and deliberate, then I think we're in good place with the policy. Does that?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with the policy. I think the staff recommended change is fine. I think, again, the zoning issue and getting a little guidance from the councilman would be nice. Personally, I don't necessarily see that would change much, but that's just me.
Commissioner Sims.
First of all, I want to thank the Boyds, who have been such leaders in their community and really listening to the neighborhood. Thank you for that. And for all of you who represent this neighborhood, we need to hear your voices. I am a little concerned that, and I love it because our director has said multiple times, even in this meeting, that community plans are actually a community-driven process. And I think when you're talking about a neighborhood that is going through this much transition, I'm not sure that psychologically there is a minor change. Almost all changes that touch on the residential life of historic Black neighborhood is a major change. And I'm just not comfortable doing the community plan in the absence of Councilman Taylor, who I know ran on a platform of involving community. So I would really seek for a deferral until we have had more conversation with our councilman and with our neighborhood.
Commissioner Haynes.
Back to the timing issue, and Lucy made this very clear. Opportunity zones, financing, low interest rates should never play a part of our decisions, no matter what. And I'm sorry that he bought the property this summer. I'm sorry he's had a new election and new council members, but that timing should never play a part. My father, my grandfather, my great uncle all did business on Buchanan Street. I know this area very well. I happen to agree with Dr. Sims. I think a minor deferral is the right thing to do to get the council person engaged with the community. I think the policy analysis is correct. I think the policy itself is correct. I just think the timing may be a little too rushed, so I would support a deferral as well.
Okay. So we are at a point where we need a motion. I guess, well, let's get a motion and then we'll discuss the details. Anybody want to make a motion? Any other points of discussion before we move to that?
I would make a motion for a 2-meeting deferral.
Okay, we have a motion on the table for a 2-meeting deferral. What do you think? Is that timing, does that timing work with?
I think let's let the motion stand for the 2-meeting deferral on the community plan amendment. And then I'd like to see the commission go ahead and deliberate and ask some questions about the zone change, because I do think there were some questions from the audience that can be clarified by staff. At the end of that, we will kind of, I think, have a better sense of how long, if the deferral for 3A needs to be changed, and we can deal with that after you discuss 3B. Does that work for you?
That works.
But for right now, I think that's fine.
Okay, so a motion for a 2-meeting deferral. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so I was thinking we were going to defer 3B, but I think we're going to go ahead and...
I think it would be helpful because my goal is to make the next steps productive for the community and for the applicant. And so I think to the extent that we can take any issues off the table and make sure we focus on the ones that should be on the table, that would be really good. So you are going to defer this one, but I think let's go ahead and ask those questions and put the issues on the table. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to go in reverse order. Commissioner Haynes?
All right, can staff refresh our memory which portion of the property is already zoned and what it can accommodate, and which portion of the property they're requesting MULA, so we understand it as we debate this?
Sure. So there are 4 parcels on 9th Avenue North that are zoned RS5, and then there are 7 parcels fronting on Buchanan that are zoned commercial service, and the request is for all 11 of those to be MULA.
So walk us through the analysis on what the 7 that currently have CS would allow in comparison to the MULA.
I think we're referring to height here. So as far as height,
Not just height, but
okay,
massing, setbacks.
Sure.
Compare and contrast.
So generally, the CS district is primarily commercial, and the bulking is set back from the street, set back from the rear of the property, and the MULA is more of a urban design with the building being closer to the street, as was mentioned by the applicant. As far as height goes, the CS requires a maximum height of 30 feet at the setback line. So the building's pushed back off the street and 30 feet at that point. The MULA has a 3-story and 45 feet height maximum, and that will be closer to the street. And the maximum height that it can go up to is 60 feet and 4 stories, but that is required to be set back from the street. So it's 3 stories and 45 at the street, 4 and 60 away from the street.
And let me add the CS, while it's 30 at the setback, there's then a height control plane. And so as you're moving away from the road, it can go taller. And so there's not actually a maximum set for CS. It just depends on how the building is configured.
So this is a really important entry point into this neighborhood. So I think we need council feedback and much more neighborhood feedback on, I like the MULA bringing the building to the street. I think this site really warrants that. 4 stories and 60 feet may be too big and imposing here. So I'm not sure I'm prepared to really answer if MULA is the appropriate zone change. I do think the residential tracts in this area need to be consistent with the 7 other tracts. And so I can support the same zone change for all 11 tracts. I'm not sure MULA is the right one.
Thank you. Commissioner Sims?
I have some concerns on this one as well, simply because we're moving from an RS5 to an MULA on part of this, and such a significant jump. I certainly understand the Buchanan Street and agree with that. I just think that anytime we make such a jump with the RS5, that we have to have some serious discussions, because I actually walked every single lot of this last Sunday. And there are some homes back there that people have invested some money in rehabbing and getting them up to really looking nice. And I would be concerned if suddenly I had a 4-story building in my backyard with no input. So I just think we need a lot more information than this particular request gives us.
I do want to add that both the CS and the MULA both have similar rear setback requirements, and so the amount that they would be pulled off of the alley is the same for either. And I did want to mention also that where you have the existing CS there along the street within the mixed-use corridor, that's actually not a district that's supported by that policy. It's kind of a remnant left over from probably pre-mixed-use corridor, and so the MULA is something that's more consistent with the mixed-use corridor policy that's already there.
Do you mind, since we're in clarification mode, if I ask the staff, did you do an assessment on whether adaptive residential would be permitted at this location?
Yes,
Can you explain what that?
Sure. Under certain commercial districts, there's something that the zoning code calls adaptive residential. That is where you can build residential. And the word adaptive makes you think that it has to be within an existing building, but that's not the case. You could build new buildings of residential so long as the property is along a collector or an arterial, and this is along a collector. And what the adaptive residential portion of the code essentially says is you can build residential, and if you build residential, you do not have a maximum FAR. FAR is floor area ratio, and so the amount of the floor area that you can build is not capped. You're simply limited by some of the other bulk standards, such as the setback and the height and those sorts of things. And so you may be able to build more residential than you would, say, a retail building within CS. And this site is eligible for adaptive residential within the CS portion.
Commissioner Gobble?
Well, I tend to think that MULA is a better zoning for this than the CS, and while I respect my colleagues, I disagree. I think having that consistency going down night would really help that. How deep are these lots?
I don't have that readily available.
Okay, well, but nevertheless, I think with a 36-foot cap along Buchanan and 9th, as I understand it.
Those are 150.
And so then you'd set back how far before it could go to 60 feet?
Well, for MULA, the build to line is between 0 and 15. So the building would be pushed up anywhere between, it could be at 0 or as far back as 15. And then
you go up 36 feet.
You can go up to 3 stories and 45 feet.
Oh, 45.
And then you step back 15 feet from that front facade, and then you can go up to 4 and 60. Is that right? Yeah, 3 and 45, step back 4 and 60. So if you're at 0, then the 4 and 60 would be within 15, roughly, feet of the street. If you're at the maximum of 15, then you're looking at 30.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a range of possibilities.
So, but I do think that, from my perspective, I think that would still show something that would fit in this neighborhood and still work. I hear the neighbors. I thought they were extremely articulate and their concerns. So it's worth having the councilman's input on that, but that's kind of my opinion.
Commissioner Elam.
Question for the applicant, I guess, and just in terms of, is the applicant still here? Project specifics, what was presented to the community?
There was a liner building shown up on the street. We weren't sure if it was going to be 3 stories or 4. It was going to be retail on the bottom, which is probably going to have if you have a 14-foot first floor with a residential on top, those are going to be another 10 and 10. So while you can go 45, I mean that building's not going to get there. You're going to hit the 3 stories before you have to step back, and you're going to run out of parking before you do a big building. So that's why we had picked MULA.
And in terms of questions you got from the community, was there concern about that being enough specifics for them and answering questions about, what it might look like and feel like?
No, I mean, it's mixed. We had a lot of very strong support and a lot of very strong opposition. So, of course, opposition always wants to see more. And I understand. And I understand that perspective. This was just a base rezoning, similar to the 3 or 4 others that are along Buchanan that have been rezoned to MULA in the last 2 years. So,
okay.
Thanks.
Lisa, thank you. One last question, just so I'm clear, I think you alluded to this. The CS, potentially, if it was that residential designation, could potentially allow for more FAR than the MUL?
Potentially, yeah. So the adaptive residential, essentially, if you're building residential under that provision in the zoning code. It's by right, you go get a building permit. And there is no cap on the FAR. And so long as you can park it and you're within the other standards of the code in regards to the bulk standards, then that's what you're permitted to do.
And is that, did you analyze it enough to know that it could make sense to get, that much density, be able to park it, or is it?
It's difficult to say. The thing with those sorts, the thing with even MULA is that there are so many different, issues, possibilities. Someone asked, I think, someone asked me earlier, how much parking would they provide? And I said, it depends on the final use mix, because if it's got a restaurant, that's going to require significantly more parking than if it has a medical office. And so having to fit the parking onto the site too is also going to kind of contribute to how much you actually put onto the site. And so it's really, there's a whole lot of possibilities within the CS.
I think that's important, though, is this, you all are meeting with the community so that they understand, by right, you could do something that's pretty dense, but this zone change would potentially make for a better project, and kind of understanding that, because it's hard for us to understand, what the end use is going to be, because there are so many variations. But I think that's important for the community to understand that too. Thank you.
Commissioner Moore?
Lisa, I think you kind of touched on this. So with the MULA for the neighborhood behind the properties, what, I guess those aren't setbacks, but what would be the the building standards for that are allowed?
Sure. So the MULA. Thank you. The MULA's rear setback is 20 feet, and I believe that the CS has a 20-foot rear setback as well.
What about height?
Oh, the height for the RS, the existing residential, is that the question?
Or what would, if it was MULA, what would be the height of that part versus the residential side?
So again, it could be, the maximum height in the MULA is 4 stories and 60 feet.
Okay, so it didn't have to step back down.
It doesn't have to step back down on the rear. Now, I would note that the maximum height in the existing RS5, where it's single family, what's permitted and what's on the ground is oftentimes very different. What's permitted within RS5 is 3 stories and 45 feet with an exposed basement that can be up to 7 feet. And so you can look at up to 52 feet within a single family home.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tibbs.
I don't necessarily, I kind of agree with Commissioner Gobble. Actually, I think the MUL would actually, I'd be in favor of that if that's, especially if we all kind of agree to that. And I feel like that would be still consistent, especially if we make the policy change, I think, in the long lines for that. As somebody who has to take my son to Slim and Huskies a whole lot, I see, I go this way a lot, and this is potentially really going to be a fascinating gateway, into the buck. I'll have to start calling it that now. But still, I still, this is, kind of somebody who said, is this minor? It may be minor, but it's really going to be major in a sense, because this is going to be truly a gateway. And I really feel pretty strongly that I like for the councilman. I don't think I could, I would disagree if he changed, but I really think he should be part of this conversation, because this is going to make a big impact, I think, and a good impact, but a big impact. And I'd feel comfortable if he was involved in the conversation. So, I'd be comfortable to make a motion that, along with item 3A, that we make a 2-meeting deferral.
Second. Okay. Can I just ask for the gentleman in the front row, can you explain what MULA and MUL is? We never quite gave him that glossary of terms. But just what it stands for.
Well, the understanding I have, it means mixed-use land. I mean, I'm trying to follow along with the conversation.
Yeah, no, so I was just hoping staff could answer that one question
Sure.
before we
And I'd be
debate.
happy to sit down with you afterwards and go over this, but MUL is mixed use limited, and the A is a tag along that you can do on a number of zoning districts that makes it an alternative, which essentially creates a more walkable environment. So it's mixed use limited alternative.
Thank you. I just wanted to address that one point. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the 2-meeting deferral? Aye. Motion carries. All right. So that is our last official item. I forget the order that we go in next. I'm going to look, Brian, Commissioner Tibbs, anything on historic?
No report.
All right. Commissioner Haynes, anything you want to share?
No report from Parks.
Oh my goodness, you're all so quiet. Okay.
I have something, it's a little bit different. Joanie, if you and Anna could pop up. I knew the agenda tonight was short, and in any event, this matters. I want to do a better job of giving the commission a picture of some of the things that the staff is doing. And as I've mentioned in some of our training sessions, we are invested in understanding how we can improve our neighborhood engagement practices. And so 2 of the team members went to Raleigh for a charrette training workshop, and I just asked them to take a couple of minutes to tell you what they learned. Right? Yeah? Okay, and while you're opening that up, I'll just say I'm going to a council training, new council member training in early October. I'm really excited about that. And as soon as we have a council member rep, we will have a workshop with the Planning Commission, but I wanted to wait until we do that to just talk about a couple of things. So that's that. Okay, ladies, go.
Great, thank you. I'm Joanie Williams. I manage the design studio. I know a lot of your faces are familiar, but I'm not up here every other week like y'all are. So Anna and I were able to go to Raleigh last week to the Charrette Institute. We have the handbook here. I'm happy to pass around if y'all want to look at that. The National Charrette Institute's training on facilitating charrettes. So I'm going to give you a little overview of what was actually involved there. Anna stayed a few extra days and went to visit the Raleigh Planning Department and do a little more touring of Raleigh itself. So I'm going to talk briefly about the training that we went through for 3 days.
You look really busy there. I mean, what were y'all doing?
So first, what is a charrette? A charrette is something that we use regularly in the planning department, probably 4 or 6 times a year for community engagement. The word is a French word. It means cart, and it comes from how architecture school used to give you a one-day project, and then the cart would get rolled through, and your drawings better be on that cart, or you didn't get a grade, right? And so the concept is to compress everything, get all the minds in the room at the same time, think really hard for a short amount of time, work together collaboratively, rather than meeting after meeting after meeting that might take months to accomplish. So this is the definition that the National Charrette Institute uses: an accelerated, collaborative, design-based process that harnesses the talents and energies of all interested stakeholders to create and support a feasible plan. We've done 6 since Nashville Next was adopted, I believe. I meant to put them on this slide by name, but Dickerson, Wedgwood, Houston, and Chestnut Hill was a recent one. West Trinity, Highland Heights, Charlotte Avenue, and Lebanon Pike. So we've done several recently. We get a little creative. I mean, we have Legos where we're talking about building heights and what neighborhoods might be comfortable with. We work in teams at tables and have every different kind of view represented at those tables. So the NCI training specifically, they're based with the Michigan State University, and their preferred model is a 7-day charrette that starts around 8 in the morning and goes till 10 at night. These are really, really rigorous processes.
Ma'am. Just kidding, keep going.
But they do have different versions of this too, which we were really interested in, like a 1-day, then a 3-day, then a 1-day, and kind of breaking that up. We do use this process, and sometimes when you go to training like this, you think, is our department already kind of ahead of what we're hearing at a training like this? And that was not the case here. We were, I think, right in pace with our peers in the room, but the Institute itself has a ton of good and new information that we're excited to start to integrate into our charrette process. So these are the notebooks. They're hard to read here, but one of the things a phrase that we heard over and over the couple of days that we were there was creating an atmosphere of trust and empathy. And that has really stuck with me, that we can put a lot of people in the room, have a lot of different thoughts and opinions, but the goal is to create amongst ourselves, between the planning department and the community, and between the community itself, an atmosphere of trust and empathy. We actually did the exercises that we would facilitate during a charrette. We did those exercises in the room. They also taught us a bunch of stuff about that we would work on in-house before the actual charrette week to prep, to make sure we have the right stakeholders in the room, to start that trust and empathy, months before the actual week of the charrette. And Anna's going to talk to you about beautiful Raleigh.
Okay. So I had a little extra time after the training to explore Raleigh, and I'd never been before, so I wanted to just share a few highlights from there. So as a planning nerd, I can't walk around a new city without thinking, was this planned? Did somebody think of this, or did it just happen? So Raleigh was a planned city based on Philadelphia's plan. So you see the central square, which is where their state capital is, and then 4 squares in the quadrant around it. Only 2 of those squares remain as public open space. The other 2 have buildings on them now. And then I just put the city logo on here because they just kind of adopted this in 2017, and they're known as the City of Oaks. So that's where that came from. So I was lucky enough to arrive the week after one of the main squares in the city was renovated. So Moore Square, you see in the top what it used to be like, and then what it looks like now. You can see kind of the meandering paths, and bigger areas of lawn, more places, benches. There's a cafe in there now. But they maintained a lot of the original grand oaks that were planted. And here's just a few highlights from the city. In the top left corner, you see one of their food halls. They have 2 food halls that are reusing, kind of in the warehouse district, reusing buildings. You can also see a streetscape in the warehouse district where they have maintained the original buildings and then have new development right next to it. In the bottom right corner, you see Nash Square. That's the other civic square that remains. And then this photo with the on-street parking is next to Moore Square, so you can kind of see how it interacts with that square, and the tree canopy and the wide sidewalks. They were actually experiencing fall while I was there, so it was mid-70s, really nice to be out and about. I then went and talked to the city planning office in Raleigh. This is their home webpage for the city, and you can see a few planning projects on there. Help us plan for future affordable housing options, stay in the know about bus rapid transit, and then a residential infill development study. So you can just see a few of the department's current projects highlighted on their main page. And then I also am always really interested in what outreach tools and engagement tools that cities are using. So they have these signs that they take to meetings or community events. And then these are the boards. You see the pictures of the boards are one of the projects they're working on. They're about to get a four-pronged line of BRT. And so working on equity and affordability related to their BRT lines. And lastly, the kind of big, huge city planning project that Raleigh is undergoing is for Dix Park, which is 308 acres just outside downtown. It was originally a plantation, and then it was a psychiatric hospital. The city bought it in 2015, and so they've been planning for a new public park. And so you can see some of the tools that they've been using with the table, with pieces that people can move around. And so that's definitely what they're most excited about and will be a huge project for Raleigh. So I was very thankful for the opportunity and could talk forever, but I think everyone wants to go home, so I'm done. Thank you, and thank you for sharing some of the new things. Anything else? Yes.
I want to thank you, Director Kemp, for allowing them to do this in a time when there's so much budget cut and staff cuts, to make time and space for professional development for our staff. It's just critical. So I'm glad you took advantage of it, and thank you for making that a priority in a tough budget year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, with that, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.